Today I'm going to be making a little upgrade to the pig pen, and I'm going to do it by trying out a new technique of pouring concrete that I've been seeing floating around YouTube. And it's very unconventional, but it looks like it works. So I thought that this little slab here would be a perfect place to try it out, because if it fails, it's a very small slab and it's not going to be that hard to fix. But if it works, then it's going to show me how much easier it can potentially be to pour small slabs like this. And of course, the technique that I'm talking about is dry pouring the concrete, in which you take the bags of ready mix, pour them in the form, screed it dry, do the corners dry, and then you'll incrementally wet it down progressively more and more until you get a slab, supposedly, that is strong and is going to hold its shape and not crack. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. The other people that I've seen do this do not wet the form down like I have, but the reason that I'm doing it is because I'm out west here and it hasn't rained for months, and it won't rain for several more months. And I think part of the way that this works is the concrete is pulling moisture out of the ground. So if I was smarter, I probably would have put a little fountain sprinkler here last night and got a real good soak. But instead, we're just gonna make do with what we've got. It is really crazy to me how well it's holding this rounded edge. You got to go over it a couple times, but the results kind of speak for themselves. So far, I think the thing I like the best about doing it this way is that I don't feel like I am racing the clock like you do with normal concrete, when you just have these small windows where you can do edging or, you know, things like this. I feel like I can just kind of take my time and just keep messing with it until I like it. I'm actually surprised with how this turned out. To me, it looks pretty good. And when I consider that I think this is only like the second time that I've ever edged concrete properly like this, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. And you know, you got to remember too, this is for pigs. So we're not going to trowel the whole slab. I don't actually really want it that smooth, because when it does get wet, I want them to have some traction when they walk on it. So I think I'm happy with this how it is, and we can start spraying it down. So with the first wet down, we just want to put the hose on the mist setting and basically just get this concrete to where it's dark. I don't want to see any pooling water or standing water on it. We're just getting it damp enough, basically enough to settle the dust. Think of it that way. I'll come back in an hour and I'll do the same thing again. It's been an hour, so I'm gonna mist this thing again, just same like I did before. That's the last time that I will mist this. I'll come back in 2 hours now and put the faucet on the shower setting and we'll wet this thing down again. It's been a little over 24 hours since doing the pour here. After you pour and screed the dry concrete, you mist it to the point where the concrete just begins to turn color. Wait an hour, do that again, wait another 2 hours, and then you're supposed to be able to hit this with the shower setting on the hose. So that's what I did, and you can see the top of the slab sort of like chipped away, or I don't really know what the right word is for it, but you can see that the top of the slab doesn't look that great. Essentially, I think what happened is that I didn't have a thick enough of a crust on the top, and some of that sort of like flaked off when I was hitting it with the shower setting. This is just a little slab for pigs to stand on while they drink water, so I'm not too worried about it, but if I was to ever use this technique on something that I wanted to look nice, then that's something that I would want to be aware of. So other than that minor little imperfection on the top here and a little bit on the corners as well, this is pretty well gone the way that I thought it would. And I think we are probably beyond the point where we can pull the forms, so let's go ahead and do that. The slab actually looks pretty decent, but it does not seem anywhere near dry or cured to me. So, which I kind of thought that it would be by now. I think, honestly, with a wet pour, it would be strong enough by now to let the animals in here and walk on it, but this doesn't seem like it's there yet. So I'm not gonna wet it down anymore because I'm trying to get it to dry. With the forms off, that should help it dry, and we'll come check on this in several hours. Well, it's been several hours since we pulled the forms off of the dry pour slab here, and I'm looking at it closely, and I gotta tell you, I'm not loving what I'm seeing. If you look here on the side of the slab where I pulled the form off, you can see that the concrete just kind of flakes away. It's clearly not been wet enough to cure and get hard. I know that if I would have done a wet pour, it would not chip and flake away on the side of the slab like that. That's really got me wondering if I made a mistake here. I can think of two reasons why I am not having good results with this. The first one is that I live out west. I'm in California in a very dry climate. I think one of the keys to success with this strategy of pouring concrete is you gotta be on wet ground so that the concrete can draw that water up out of the ground and use that water to help itself cure. I'm also wondering if the slab might not be a little bit too thick for this technique, because I think in the video that I watched, they were only pouring like a 2-inch thick slab or something like that. So possibly it's those two things that are messing me up, and I'm not gonna give up on this yet because I've got it. So, you know, let's try to make it work if we can. I think now that the forms are off of there and I can get better access with the water, I'm just gonna go ahead and spray all around the sides where the forms were, and then hopefully it can draw a little bit more of that in. I was hoping this was gonna work, and I gotta tell you, it's not looking good. I'm gonna try to get this on film, but man, when I spray the sides of the slab, you can just see it eroding away like crazy. I've got all the sides of the slab sprayed down. I showed you how the one side here was just really eroding away as I was spraying it with the hose, which would indicate that it never sucked up enough water from the ground or absorbed enough from the top to really get through to the middle of the slab there. So hopefully by spraying the edges, we can get a little bit of absorption around all the sides, and potentially that the middle of the slab might still be powdery for all I know. But this might be the kind of thing that just takes a really long time to get it to cure. So I'm not gonna put the pigs out here today. I'm gonna give this at least the rest of today and then probably tomorrow as well. I'm gonna keep spraying the edges and doing that and really try to give this a good chance of working. Not giving up, but so far, honestly, not real impressed. It has been about 4 days since pouring this dry pour slab, and let's take a look at it. At this point, it's plenty solid enough for me to stand and jump on it. You can see the sides do still chip away a little bit with the pocket knife, but I'm thinking that as this has more time to set up, that it's probably gonna get a little bit better. I think that it is dry enough for light use, such as me standing on it and such as having a couple pigs stand on it while they drink out of this water nipple. Spraying the sides of the slab after I took the forms off actually really seemed to help solidify them a little bit more, which is good, but it also has me wondering, you know, how much of the concrete within the slab is not cured at all. I just can't wait anymore. I need to get the pigs in here, and actually the pigs will be good testers, because if you've ever raised pigs, you know they can be a little bit destructive or a lot destructive. So if they start rooting around this slab and messing with it, then that'll be kind of a good strength test for this thing. Got that figured out? He's got it. Where these pigs came from, they were drinking out of water nipples, so I expect that the transition here will be fairly smooth. But I put the water pan on the slab there just to draw them to that area to get water, and you saw one of them drank out of the water nipple really well. So what is the verdict on dry pouring concrete? I'm still kind of undecided. This is the first time that I've tried a dry pour slab, and it really didn't turn out the way that I expected it to based on all the videos that I watched before doing this. I'm not trying to call anybody out or say anybody is wrong, because the environment that I'm doing this is completely different than the environment where they were doing it in the videos that I watched. If I was going to do this again, which I think I will, the thing that I mostly want to change is, after I build the form, I think I'll just put a fountain sprinkler inside that form and let it go for like 24 hours to get that ground good and wet, so that when I do the dry pour, there is some moisture there for that concrete to suck out. After this experience, I do still believe that this idea has got some merit. I think there's something to this. Oh look, the pig's using the nipple right now. What I really liked about doing the dry pour is that there is no rush, unlike a wet pour where you're just scrambling, especially since I'm almost always doing this kind of thing by myself. With a wet pour, you're constantly scrambling, trying to get things screeded, trying to get edges done, trying to get things cleaned off before the concrete cures. It's a hectic race to get it done. The results are good, but you really got to be busting your butt to get them. Unlike with a dry pour, you can really take your time. There is no rush at all. You can get the slab prepped perfectly however you want it. I could have sat here for hours prepping that slab until I had it just the way that I wanted it. The big question is long-term durability. How is this gonna last? And especially being in a pig pen, if they get to rooting around the edge of that slab, they could potentially crack these corners out if they're not completely cured yet. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on this and see how it goes. I think there's something to this, but it didn't go for me quite how I expected. So I thought that I would make this video to maybe save somebody the same problems that I had. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.